about our next guest, directly from the Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs. We have Ernest Chrappah with us. Very excited to have you with us, Ernest. Ernest Chrappah is an experienced government executive as well as a successful entrepreneur with a reputation for finding innovative solutions to complex challenges. He was named by Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser on November 20th, 2018 to serve as the director of the Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs. Upon taking the helm of the DCRA in 2018, Ernest has set out on a listening tour aimed at learning how best to improve the agency from a range of stakeholders. Using what he learned, Director Chrappah developed a roadmap to the agency's digital transformation, which he called Vision 2020. And I'm very excited that our global audience gets to experience that vision and the details of that journey today. Ernest, thank you so much for taking the time to share that with all of us.
Thank you, Jose, for the incredible introduction and also for the previous speakers and all the participants in our today's session. Digital transformation is something that you've been hearing about quite a bit. And I'm hopeful that by sharing our experience on how going digital has helped us improve the customer experience, you will learn a thing or two and also be able to learn from things we found to be challenging and how we're able to overcome that. What I plan on doing is to give a bit of some context about the organization that I run, where we started, how we went about in crafting our organizational strategy around digital first, the steps that are entailed in the process, what the results turned out to be, and also what we are currently working on as we look ahead for a post-pandemic perspective. DCRA's mission as a city government agency is to promote the health, safety, and economic well-being and economic interests of not just our residents, but business owners and visitors to the District of Columbia. The work that we perform is very familiar for most jurisdictions. In context, DCRA is responsible for issuing business licenses, occupational licenses, issuing building permits, administering zoning regulations, conducting inspections, and taking enforcement actions on entities. To accomplish this, we perform a number of core functions to deliver these services. To give you a sense of the scale of the organization, last year, we registered over 14,000 corporations. We licensed over 49,000 businesses. We issued over 54,000 permits, and we conducted over 144,000 inspections. Each month, we filled more than 19,000 emails, 16,000 phone calls, and 1,000 live chats with only 475 employees. If you go to Boston or London or Chicago or Austria, every city has a department around building permits. They also have separate departments around licenses in most cases. But in the District of Columbia, we perform both functions, and that gives us the ability to scale and leverage the best of our resources. When it comes to digital transformation, as Jose mentioned earlier in the introduction, we started by listening to our customers. When I joined the agency, I went on a listening tour to hear what they really expected of the city government in terms of the delivery of services. More importantly, what I found out was that 31% viewed their interaction with the agency as negative. There was low level of customer engagement. In fact, between 2016 and 2018, only 1,425 surveys had been completed. I also saw a lack of accountability, both on the customer side and the employee side. There was no way to actually connect the feedback that we received to the service performed. So if you get a permit, there was nothing that says your satisfaction or your survey feedback is tied to the permit you received. So if you're just upset, you can go and provide negative ratings 1,000 times. Obviously, I'm exaggerating there, but I think you get the gist. So we had a very tricky situation because we were delivering incredible value, yet there was a significant number of customers who viewed their interaction with us negatively. So we wanted to figure out what we could do better What it dawned on me through this listening session was that our customers' expectations had been shaped by what they experienced in their day-to-day lives. We were living in an environment where you can get a veterinarian, you can get a cab, you can get an Uber, you can even get somebody to come babysit your pets by pushing a button on the smartphone. So consumers expected that same level of transparency, responsiveness, accountability from city government, and we had to meet the moment. That called for us to be bold in our approach to improve responsiveness. Our strategic plan is what we call Dcra Vision 2020, and this was launched in 2018. And the idea was very simple. Let's offer every single service that we provide on demand. That way, it is convenient for the customer and it forces us to streamline our processes, understand the bottlenecks, and figure out ways to deliver services more efficiently. There are a few initiatives that we package as part of this digital transformation journey. First was revamping our website, making it mobile friendly and helping our visitors or our customers self-identify as a resident or business owner. That way, their navigational experience is driven by their point of view. We also put together a public dashboard so that the public can track our progress on all the initiatives that were going on in the agency. And more importantly, the public could see what our service levels were for every category that the agency provided. So if it had to do with permit, for large scale complex permits, we have a 30-day service level to complete the first round of plan reviews. If you want a housing inspection, we have a 15-day service level or a 15-day window to provide our service. If you are looking for a business license, we provide that in 1 business day. So by publishing our service levels and educating the public about what to expect from us, it put us on notice and it also put them on notice as to what to expect. And when we deliver the service, they could hold us accountable. That was a radical shift for us to just put everything out in the open, and also the key performance indicators that we use and the city leverages to evaluate the agency's performance in all our core services. Another thing that we did around digital transformation was to shift the way we do inspections to a virtual environment. Before GoToMeeting, WebEx, and Microsoft Teams became cool after the pandemic, we had actually started the process and implemented a program where you can get your permits reviewed all virtually without having to set a foot into our offices. I joke around that people can now get permits in their pajamas, and this was all before the pandemic. Another significant shift that we implemented as part of this digital transformation initiative was our customer relationship management model, and also the implementation of a customer relationship management system. And I'll talk more about that in a few. We also shifted to conducting virtual inspections, offering our customers more convenient times where we could conduct safety inspections or we can conduct construction inspections using commercially available tools like Google Duo, Teams, way before it became cool. Another significant step was consolidating our data systems. We have multiple databases for customers to check the status of a permit, research a property history, check the status of a license, and we felt it was just way too confusing and it required several usernames and passwords. You can imagine the calls to the help desk for password research. So as part of our strategy, we consolidated most systems and we implemented single sign-on so that with that access, we could verify identity, authenticate users, and once they get in, they can have access to all the systems that they need. This was both for internal audience and external audience. The significant piece around digital transformation that is not usually talked about is culture change. Yes, we knew tech-enabled initiatives could accelerate improvement, but if we didn't make a significant investment in people, and helping our employees understand where we were going and how they can help get there and how they can also improve their whole professional and personal profiles, then we will not be successful. So that was another initiative under our digital transformation initiatives. I'll now move to elaborating further on some of these initiatives. With respect to the customer relationship management system, there are many tools available. So like most city agencies, we went through a procurement process, identified the system, identified a vendor, and implemented it. What we did as part of this implementation was revamp our customer service delivery model. We guaranteed anybody who interacted with us that as long as they use the established channels for communicating with the agency, they will receive a response in 3 business days or less over 90% of the time. And it worked. We also put in place processes where issues can get escalated when it comes into the CRM. As part of the CRM, we put in place sentiment analysis so that we can mine the text of the content that the customer sends to us to understand if the customer is frustrated, is upset, is happy, and put the customer service agent in a position where they know what they are walking into once they interact with the customer. We also went through the step of discouraging our customers to send emails specifically to individuals, because sometimes people get sick and they don't need to come to work. People go on vacation, and we had to move away from the culture of transacting business in email or Microsoft Outlook towards a system where we can cascade and see all interactions specific to the customer. So one, the customer never has to repeat himself about why he's calling. The representative can see prior communications, whether it was by phone, social, in person, or web, all in one place, so they can provide better service. With regard to the systems that we consolidated, we had 4 different systems for tracking permits, licenses, and regulatory information. And we thought that was just unusual and that was unnecessary. So as part of our strategy, we combined the databases, put a new user interface that we did a lot of testing and feedback and blind shopping as well, so we can get a better feel of how people interacted with the system. And then we went out and we bought access management system using Okta, which had met FedRAMP requirements for security. And those 2 systems together allowed us to have a single sign-on and one system for tracking permits, licenses, and regulatory information. Today, we still have a number of systems that you can access through the single sign-on platform. But when it comes to permit and licensing and regulatory information, you now only have to use one system, whether you are coming through mobile channel or the desktop environment. Another piece of digital transformation strategy that I'm very excited about was the inspections marketplace. We quickly realized the demand for inspections far outweighed the supply of full-time inspectors that we had. So in order to meet that demand, we created a program where we actually train DC residents to become building code inspectors, and they can earn money on the side. This is the first of a kind program in the country, and people are calling it the Uber for inspections. But it works more like a marketplace where the inspectors can create storefronts, list their prices after they've gone through background check, they've been certified, they've been trained. And when a business owner or a resident is looking for an inspection and we have met capacity limits, they can go to the marketplace, put their requirements or their need out there, and choose one of the certified inspectors. This has not only helped us meet the demand for inspections, but it's created job opportunities and economic options for our residents who are our best assets. Large permitting projects, large construction projects typically involve something called plan review, where you design the building, you have an engineer come up with drawings, and somebody has to review to see if it meets building code. We figured out that the best way to solve miscommunication issues and ensure that the customer's team, that typically includes architects, engineers, and a host of our professionals, was to put them in the same room with our plan reviewers by discipline, so that they can look at the plans, identify the issues, provide feedback to their customer, and if the customer and his professional team can make the changes on the spot, then we move forward towards permit approval. This program was also a first of a kind at the time it was introduced, because most cities were not doing virtual plan reviews. Plan reviews were done in person, but we wanted to provide more convenient options for our customers, because sometimes you may have a building project in DC, but your architect lives in New York City. For him to come to BC for a meeting means he has to get on the train or get on an airplane, take a cab, or get a rental car, pay parking, and all of that adds to the transaction cost. But by moving to a virtual posture, it simplified the communication channels and ensured that everybody was looking at the same set of plans and making comment. It was a simple collaboration tool, but it's worked wonders in helping us improve the speed of approving building permits. We went further. As I mentioned previously, culture change was a significant part of our digital transformation. And the genesis of the culture change was that we realized there was no way we were going to be successful with any transformation if our employees didn't have buy-in, or if our employees did not see specifically how the transformation will benefit them professionally and personally. There got to be something in it for them. Like the acronym WEFM, what is in it for me, was the question. So we set out with a vision. Our vision was to change our culture into a culture that was innovative, data-driven decisions, operationally efficient and excellent, and above all, we put our customers first. So what do we need to do to put our employees in that position to succeed? We did a baseline survey of the internal culture. We provided customer care training. We revamped an employee newsletter so they can get frequent communication of what is happening across the entire agency, what we're hearing for customers. We also did focus group sessions around our leadership team members, and we provided career counseling sessions. Initially, employees were wondering, why are you giving us career counseling sessions? Do you want us to leave the agency? And I said, far from it. We want you to succeed here or wherever your career takes you. So we brought in a consultant who brought in a team and provided career counseling sessions to our employees, help them shine their resume, help them understand the various paths of growth and opportunities within the agency and within the city government. And we also put in place a digital quotient assessment, because we believed a lot of the interactions were going to be digital. And it was important for our employees to understand that when you communicate in the digital environment, it's a lot different than in person. If a customer reaches out to you over a chat session, they are not going to be patient and wait for 6 minutes to get a response. If they have a complex issue on chat, you can take that conversation over email or schedule a meeting. But above all, we also had to change the way we process information in the digital world. We had to leverage Excel and other tools to understand clusters of information. So that program was definitely a game changer, because our employees realized where we're trying to go and the gaps everybody had in order for them to exceed their performance goals and for them to meet their potential. And finally, we put in place employee recognition activities to be routine across the agency. We celebrated our employees for doing fantastic jobs with customers. We celebrated our employees who faced challenges and asked for help. And we made it part of our DNA that it is okay to make mistakes as long as you don't make the same mistake multiple times over. and more importantly, taking advantage of the tools and resources that the agency provides. With all of that said, the question becomes, how did our systems work together? You've probably figured out by now that we put our customers and our employees as the cornerstone of our digital transformation. When an interaction or an inquiry comes to the agency by phone, social media, live chat, or the video session, through the cloud, it goes into our environment and we channel it to the appropriate system, whether it was our CRM for customer interactions, or identity management system using Okta, or to have an electronic copy of the record in our FileNet, or if it has to do with a permit into a seller our land management system, or if it has to do with transparency through our public dashboard where we use Tableau and SaaS, and if it had to do with any sort of communication, only the tools that we have set up in our environment could be used. So that is how we architected our systems around our customers and employees. So with that said, the question remains, what were the results? Remember, in 2018, 31% of customers were dissatisfied with the service they received or with the agency. In 2020, we were seeing 90% and above in terms of satisfaction scores. We also saw 174 people who are now available for on-demand inspections. We've created 174 jobs. We also cut back on the turnaround time for safety inspections. For housing inspections, for example, our SLA or our service window was 15 days, but we were routinely performing the service in 7 days. We also made it real fast to get permits using our virtual collaboration tools and also streamlined processes. And for the first time in 3 years, the agency met or exceeded all key performance indicators. This transformation would simply not have been possible without the technology and the investment in people, and above all, putting our customers first. That was our journey. It took 2 years to get there, but the results have been fantastic. We've learned a lot, and I hope you found some nuggets or kernels of information that could be useful. What is the future for us now, having gone through this digital transformation? Currently, we are rolling out our 5-year strategic plan that creates a version of the future that we want to see as employees and what the city needs from us. We are positioning the agency to be ready for the future. Nobody could have predicted the pandemic. When we started the digital transformation, it wasn't because I or somebody knew there was coronavirus coming. But when the city shut down and we had to send all our employees home remotely, we went digital in just 1 day because of the investments that we had made. Other agencies across the country struggled to provide virtual services, but for us, it was a seamless transition because of the strategic thinking and plan we have put in place in 2018. So as we think about our 5-year plan, it is more about building on our success, sustaining the excellence, and assisting with the economic recovery. We are also going to launch a permit wizard. Think of TurboTax or automated tools for filing your taxes. We want to introduce that concept to permits so that if you need a permit, you don't really have to be that technical or understand the type of permit you need. By simply answering a few questions, the wizard will guide you and take you through the processes for you to get your permit. We also plan on launching a contractor rating system. Yes, there are rating systems like Angie's List, Google, and Yelp, but none of them has information about a contractor's performance with a city agency as it relates to the quality of plans they submitted, their pass and fail rate for inspections. So we are super excited about this initiative because it will provide information for consumers to make informed decisions about who they hire as an architect, who they hire as a general contractor, who they hire as an electrician, or any professional at all. And then finally, we are looking to take our inspections marketplace from pilot mode to full production mode and expand the suite of services that can be obtained to the marketplace. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a high-level overview of the digital transformation of the Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs in Washington, D.C. And I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and I'll stick around to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Ernest, thank you so much for that. What a fantastic journey you and the team have been on. I encourage the audience to ask questions. Some have already come through. Keep asking the questions. I'm going to relay as many as possible to in the time that we have allotted here with Ernest. What a great journey you have been on. It's remarkable to see how much has been done since 2018, and then on top of that, with a pandemic that happened. Of course, you in the department look like geniuses because you are set up for something, as you said, that nobody could predict, and but you had those capabilities built in. So let's go back to 2018. You are coming into the department. What was the motivation for you for the transformation? What you mentioned a few things that were going on there, but as you started understanding what was happening in the department, what pushed your vision in this direction? What are some of the things that you felt early on that made you take this direction with the department?
Thank you, Jose. That's a very good question. I work for a male who is bold, incredible, and uber motivating. Her style of leadership is to accelerate the careers of people who are committed to public service. And I've spent about a decade turning around different government agencies. So I sort of developed a bit of a reputation for fixing things. But the Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs was the biggest undertaking for me at that time, because the frustrations that customers had were very real at that time. So for me, I didn't automatically know a digital transformation was a strategy. I didn't. But in going through the listening sessions, talking to residents, talking to business owners, talking to city council members, talking to stakeholders, I began to see sort of like some commonalities. One, they wanted things fast. They wanted things to be efficient. They wanted things to be transparent. They wanted some sense of control. So it dawned on me that, one, we had to be customer centric. We had to, so that we could become relevant and stay ahead a little bit, if we could, of our customer expectations. But it was only by going digital that we could have a wholesale improvement in all our core services. It wouldn't make sense to improve permitting and have inspections being weak, or our licensing being weak, or our enforcement regime being weak. We had to elevate our game. And that drove the digital transformation strategy that was focused on improving our customer experience, empowering our employees, and driving wholesale improvements across the agency.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. William Fuller. Well, before I go into William Fuller, Frank Harper is saying, what a great demonstration of innovation, insight, initiative, influence, interpersonal skills, and integrity. So thank you for sharing this with us. So that's a comment there from Frank Harper. Jumping into the question from William Fuller. You talk about service level targets early on in the presentation, and actually service level commitments, I think. William was interested on how did you establish these service level targets before publishing them as service level commitments? But there's got to be some discussion there internally that you had to go through and decide that we're going to make these commitments. So we better be able to meet these commitments to the marketplace. How did that happen internally?
It was part of the strategic planning process. Every district government agency has what they call like an annual performance plan. The annual performance plan gives what I call the boring statistics, your workload, measures, number of the demand for inspections, the number of phone calls, the number of permits you have to review, the stuff that, yeah, they are stats, but it doesn't mean a whole lot if it doesn't come with a service level commitment. So we reviewed our internal processes, and what became clear to me is that we actually had service levels that the city uses to evaluate the performance, and employees had individual performance plans that were not tied to these service levels. So we said, okay, we are not going to change anything yet. Let's, number one, tie your individual performance to the agency's performance so that when a phone call comes in, you have to answer in one business day or less. And when you answer, you have to provide meaningful substance to the customer, not just say, hello, I got your request and goodbye. No, understand the nature of the interaction. So by putting that in place, I felt comfortable that improvements will come over time with a digital transformation. But we had to commit to what was already on the books that we were not meeting. And we had to be transparent about it so that people knew that, yes, you are not meeting your performance targets, but this is the performance target. So that when improvements come, it is clear what the path has been. Down the line, we introduced additional measures. One I can think of is our 3-day service level commitments. That was new because I wanted staff to know how to manage or self-manage. If you have 20 emails to respond to, just realize our commitment now is to give a resolution in 3 days. So be thoughtful about your responses, dig through the issues, talk to other colleagues. So when you formulate a response, the customer is more likely to be satisfied because one, the inquiry comes with a tracking number. The customer is getting alerts. The clock is winding down and everybody is marching to the same tune of music.
Very, very good. Very, very good. And Ernest, if you go back to 2018 when you started this journey and you're listening to the people, to the stakeholders at all different levels, and you're building your vision of what you need to transform into. At what point did it come to mind that we gotta take this agency completely digital? I mean, at what point in that journey that idea crystallized for you?
I have to look back. I think it was probably one day where I was running. I do a lot of endurance running, so that's when I clear my head. But I recall the first sort of 60 days on the job where, whether it was the press or employees or city council members, everybody was asking, okay, so what are you going to do to fix the problems? Like there was intense pressure. And I'll go to community meetings and people were just mad, or there'll be a few people who were okay. I mean, it was intense. But I purposely did not rush to solutions. But when it became clear to me that the customer's expectations had changed and we were in a different world, I realized, okay, we are in the digital economy. We are in an environment where if you need to get a ride, you push a button on the smartphone and your Uber driver is there. And by the way, you saw him on the map coming towards you. When a customer files a permit application, they want to know when it's going to be complete, the status at any given point in time. We had no choice than to go digital. It was more like an existential threat, we just had to do it. So I'm pleased we got the resources from the mayor and the city council, but it was a bold vision. And I remember when we unveiled the vision, some people said, this is so crazy, it may actually work.
That's fantastic. And Ernest, so you're in that process now. Now, you may not have the skill set necessary within the department to move to digital. How did you go about, assembling the team around you to help you on this digital journey?
Certainly, we didn't have everything in place on day one, but we gave ourselves 2 years for the digital transformation. We published milestones, we made it public, and we put up a clock that counted down to the end of 2020. So the pressure was real. But as we became transparent and put out the plan, people felt a bit of the excitement and also wanted to be part of this story, the journey. I also was fortunate enough where I was able to recruit and bring a couple of people who had worked with me before. My CIO, incredible leader, my deputy director, incredible performer, my chief building official that I've not worked with before, but he knows the industry. I was able to take the existing team, supplement it with people that I worked with before, recruited for the talent gaps we had, went through procurement to find vendors to help us, and that is how the team came together over the a year and a half, nearly 2 year period.
Very good. And now you have the team, the vision has been established. Um, did you have pushback? Did you have pushback internally and externally on this? Naysayers? How was the atmosphere around the beginnings of this digital transformation?
At the beginning, there was no pushback. It was more sort of like, well, let's see if this thing will work, because people have tried different things. Like it was like, well, let's sit back. The pushback came midstream, about 6 months to 8 months in the process, when people realized that some accomplishments had been done. We revamped the website, we made our dashboard public, and the heat was getting like no stronger, so to speak, because we're demanding that people meet the expectations that they've committed to, and they show the return on the training that we've provided. So there's a real sense of accountability, and that is when the pushback happens. You see that in the passive aggressive way. You see that from some of the issues that the union leaders brought, but they also presented an opportunity to resell the vision, recalibrate, understand areas where we could have done things differently, and to make it more inclusive. So as we fell back on our successes, talked about the lessons learned, we were able to overcome some of the pushback, but it was not easy. I think that's why I'm probably going a little gray, if you can see my head.
That's fantastic. You have such a great story of excellence and innovation. There are so many components of it that are remarkable. From you running and disconnected from work and having this insight about something back at the job, if you will, from the way that you approach operational excellence and then build on that operational excellence with innovation capabilities. That's just a remarkable story. Let me get back here with questions from our audience, and the next one here is around the culture. This comes from Frank Harper, and he asks, what did you find to be the most effective approaches to changing the Dcra culture? You talked about you took some steps to shift, to transform the culture. What have you found to be most useful in doing that cultural transformation?
There are a few pieces to the puzzle, and it's a puzzle that also shifts, and you have to be malleable. Training that is targeted and demanding a return on that training investment. If you are not comfortable de-escalating a customer inquiry, even if you are not a subject matter expert, we'll provide the tools on the tone, the point where you have to tell the customer that this is the only thing I can do for you at this moment, or follow up with a customer. So there is a way of managing the customers. So we provided that training to every single employee, top to the bottom. It just doesn't matter, because we want to create a culture of how we handle our customers. The difficult ones, the not so difficult ones, there has to be a protocol. So training, communication, and over communicating. I hold weekly briefing sessions for all staff. At some point, I held daily briefings during the pandemic for staff to keep them informed on things that were happening outside the agency that would impact them, and also an opportunity for them to connect directly with me, no middleman, and just be more human. The third piece, I would say, is dollars. You have to make investments in people. So we shifted resources from some of our IT projects to people investments. You get a set budget and you have to make it work. But we committed to spending money on people. We committed to bringing in experts from outside, consultants, to help our employees flourish. Overall, we probably spent about what, 300,000 over the 2-year period on culture change initiatives. And also, and this could be subtle, taking a strong position externally in areas where the agency was right and areas where the agency was wrong, owning up to it and setting that example for staff that it's okay to be vulnerable, but you got to have a plan. And when you're executing your plan over the long term, you are more likely to be successful. Those are the elements that I think were helpful with the culture change initiative.
Fantastic. That comment of vulnerability with a plan is such a strong statement. You also mentioned, Ernest, these career counseling sessions, which are quite intriguing because it feels from the outside, just listening to the concept, that you're really trying to create this culture of entrepreneurship, of accountability, of ownership. And in a way, you're like, let's review our career plans, everybody. Is that really how it played out for you? Is that what you're aiming for with this career counseling sessions that you're having with the employees?
Yes, I wanted the individuals to be successful because I had long time ago accepted that you are not going to be able to keep all employees. Some will leave because they found a better job, and you have to congratulate them that they found something better. Some will leave because of the wear and tear. Some will leave because they don't know what they're trying to do. But as an organization, for the time that people are with us, if we can get the best out of them and make them the best that they can be, in the long term, it helps the city, it helps the individual, and for the period that they are with us, it also helps. So it was sort of like counterintuitive. When somebody says, hey, I'll give you free career counseling sessions, you look around and say, oh, okay, are you trying to fire me? But that is that culture of fear. And we had addressed that also through the culture change, because we're trying to build an environment of trust, an environment of empowerment, an environment of continuous improvement. So those drove the decision. And I think it was money well spent, bringing external people in, people who are not edited their resume in 3 years or sometimes even 6 years, but they had acquired new skills as part of digital transformation. They knew how to use CRM systems that are modern. They know how to use Excel spreadsheets to do pivot tables. They know how to apply critical thinking to make decisions. They knew how to de-escalate customer situations. They knew how to do issue diagnosis. Like, these are skills that you can use in life. And I felt it was important for employees to see. You don't have to agree with what we are doing as a digital transformation, but you have to recognize that there's something in it for you.
Ernest, what a pleasure. What a privilege for all of our 2,000 plus registered participants to listen directly from a leader of your caliber on the steps, the challenges, and the successes of a well-executed digital transformation. So congratulations to you and the team for showing that government works and for showing the successes that you have achieved here through this incredible collaborative effort. So thank you for taking the time to share that wisdom with all of us today.
My pleasure. And I just say thank you and your team and all the participants and those who ask questions. Thank you for the opportunity to share our successes, our challenges. If you need to get in touch with me after this, you can tweet me at Dcra, or you can tweet me at Ernest Chrappah. Thank you, and I look forward to catching up with you another time. Be well.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Ernest Chrappah, the Director of the District Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs, on the journey of digital transformation at the department. So at the top of the hour, we'll have the last session for us today, which is leading agile transformation in a continuously changing environment. So we're going to have Aditya Sinha, the global head of consumer data acquisition for Nielsen, with us, and she's going to lead us through their journey of digital transformation. So we started the day on real estate, we moved into financials, we moved into government, and we're gonna finish strong with Aditya Sinha and Nielsen. And I'll see you back at the top of the hour.